the melting point of a substance is an important and easily measured criterion of identity and purity. The apparatus used for the measurement of the melting point ranges in complexity from the very simple, such as this, in which the sample contained in a melting point tube is suspended in liquid paraffin inside a boiling tube. The boiling tube also contains a thermometer and a stirrer, and the apparatus is heated by a microburner. More complex apparatus, such as this or this, in which the sample and thermometer are contained in an aluminium block, which is heated electrically, through to apparatus such as this, the hot stage, in which the sample again is heated electrically, this time on a stage, and the sample is viewed through a microscope as it melts. The apparatus most commonly used for measuring melting point is of this kind, consisting of the electrically heated aluminium block containing a thermometer and space for up to 3 melting point tubes. The heating is controlled electrically by means of a rheostat. In this equipment, the rheostat is activated by turning the orange knob. This also illuminates the digital display of the temperature. Rapid heating of the sample is possible by switching on a rapid heat switch. And to aid reading the temperature, the display can be held at its current value by pressing the whole display switch. In this apparatus, again, the heating is controlled by the rheostat, which is activated by the switch on the front, which also activates a lamp inside the equipment for viewing. Rapid heating again is possible by activation of the boost heater with the switch on the left. I shall now show you how to prepare a sample for melting point determination. For the measurement, we shall use this apparatus. The sample for melting point measurement needs to be finely ground. This you can do using a spatula, pressing the sample firmly onto the surface of a clock glass. Alternatively, and more satisfactorily, the sample can be ground in a pestle and mortar. The sample tube for melting point measurement needs to be sealed at one end using the Bunsen flame. Hold the tube in the edge of the flame and rotate gently between the fingers. The blob of glass quickly seals the end of the tube. Don't leave the tube in the flame over long, for the blob will become too large and will prevent insertion of the tube into the melting point apparatus. Always remember to return the Bunsen flame to the yellow position for safety. When the tube has cooled, insert the sample by pressing the open end of the tube into the ground sample. Tap the end of the tube firmly on the bench when the sample will fall to the bottom. Alternatively, the use of the serrated edge of some tweezers or the milled edge of a coin is possible. The sample is now ready for insertion into the melting point apparatus. We shall now make a rough melting point measurement using the boost heater. Switch on the rheostat heater, which also activates the light, and switch on the boost heater. Using a fresh sample of the material, we shall now make an accurate melting point measurement. Switch on the heater and lamp and use the boost heater until the temperature rises to 15 centigrade degrees below the rough melting point. When the temperature is roughly 15 centigrade degrees below the rough melting point, switch off the boost heater and adjust the rheostat so that the rate of rise of temperature is approximately 2 to 3 centigrade degrees per minute. In your notebooks, you should note the temperature at which the sample begins to soften, the temperature at which the bulk of the sample has melted, and the temperature at which melting is complete. For a pure compound, the range over which that occurs should be only 0.5 to 1 centigrade degree. Mixed melting point determination is an important method for compound identification. If two compounds are identical, not only will they melt separately at the same temperature, but a mixture of the two will also melt at that same temperature. Whereas two dissimilar compounds may accidentally have the same melting point, but a mixture of those compounds will melt at a lower temperature. In order to make a mixed melting point measurement, you will need 3 melting point tubes, 2 of them filled with separate samples of the 2 components. And I've prepared samples here. The third tube will need to be filled with a finely ground mixture of the 2 components. In order to prepare the mixture, insert samples of the 2 components into the mortar, grind the 2 components together thoroughly. Then insert the finely ground mixture into the melting point tube as before by pressing the tube firmly into the mixture. Then tap the tube firmly on the bench as before to get the mixture at the bottom of the tube. Now insert the 3 tubes into the melting point apparatus. We are now ready to make the mixed melting point measurement. Insert the 3 samples into the 3 holes in the aluminium block.